getting ready to do this scary thing. Yes, I'm drinking this Taiwan milk tea. So good. TNT, everybody, if you live in Canada. I mean, I feel like every Asian person knows this. If you don't know this and you're Asian, I don't even know what to say to you, honestly. I wanted to share my story about growing up and being bullied for most of my life. I had a conversation this morning with my therapist slash coach because she kind of plays two roles. I had a conversation with her and I was like, oh, I'm comparing myself to this person, and they have done it, and I haven't done it, and all this stuff. And she's like, look, you are totally discrediting all of the unique stories that you have in your life. And you forgot how valuable those stories are and how much of that shaped your journey. And I'm like, you're right. I've been comparing myself to all these other people that have made it and that they have this and that and this and that and da 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 da. And then I'm like, you're right, but I need to share my story, my journey for me. Like, I don't know who would be listening. I feel like somebody would listen and it would be valuable, but I feel like I need to share what has been my experience. So here I am making this video, sharing my personal experience and checking to see, making sure that the microphone is working. Okay, guys, so turn out the microphone was working and I was just freaking out. But it's always better to be safe than to be sorry. You don't want to record the whole video and then your microphone didn't record a single sound and you're like, I can't say it again. Okay, so my story. I'm gonna start with elementary school because sadly it started in elementary school. I feel like I've told this story 1,000 times in private to my across a list of therapists in order to deal with this early childhood trauma. So this is sort of the first time that I think I'm sharing this publicly. I'm pretty sure. I can't even remember anymore. You know when you make so much content and you're just like, I don't remember what I've shared? I'm pretty sure this is the first time. But yeah, so my parents divorced when I was 3. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think that's where my abandonment wound started to happen. It could very well happen before, but I think it started when my parents divorced at 3. And when I came to elementary school, I had decently good friends from grade 1 to grade 3. I would say I was just like other kids, just playing, hang out with friends in the classroom and whatnot. It was in grade 3, like halfway through grade 3, and that things started to get really, really bad. I remember my closest friends at the time started to exclude me from the groups. I felt like I didn't belong. Nobody would hang out with me. They didn't want to talk to me. The people that I considered my closest friends no longer want to talk to me. I was pretty much excluded by my entire classroom, which was like, I think 40 to 50 students. I had 2 friends that were okay being my friends because they literally sat next to me in our desk or at our desk at the time. But yeah, pretty much everyone else did not want to be my friends. And that was so hard as a kid to deal with because the automatic thought that I went to was something is wrong with me. Something is wrong with me that they don't want to hang out with me. I did something to them. Something is wrong. And honestly, to this day, I can't even pinpoint what was the reason. And I've seen my friends from elementary school when I go back and visit them in Vietnam, they don't even remember that they excluded me or that this happened. They were like, oh, we did that. Or like, I think some people remembered and they're like, yeah, I remember that happened. But I think I was shocked when some people said they didn't even remember. I'm like, really? Because obviously to me, this experience was like like the biggest experience, right, of my childhood upbringing. And for some of them, they didn't even remember. which goes to say all of us have such different life experiences and different journey, different lessons and whatnot. But yeah, it was the most difficult time in my life growing up as a kid. I would go to school and I would remember like not wanting to interact with anybody, just like I'm gonna come here, sit down, do my thing, and then go home. And I remember there were so many days that I would go home and cry alone in my bedroom. I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell my grandparents, I didn't tell anybody what was going on. And I think I was afraid that if I had told somebody in the position of authority, like a parent figure or like a teacher, that things would even be worse. So I didn't tell anybody and I just dealt with it by myself by going home and crying alone in my bedroom. And that happened for straight 3 years, grade three, grade four, and grade five. It was very, very hard. It was a very dark time in my life. I felt extremely sad. Thankfully, I was never suicidal, but I think when I think back about the hardest time of my life, that would be it. And yeah, I mean, to go into details, because I feel like details and specifics are important. Sometimes it's even hard for me to talk about this now because I don't remember a lot of the details. I've processed it so much emotionally with therapy and coaching that when I talk about it now, I don't really get the intense emotions or the negative emotions anymore. Um, yeah, I look at it now with a very positive tone. So sometimes it's hard for me to even bring up the same events in the same way that I had felt about it, say 10 years ago. But yeah, I honestly feeling excluded and rejected and feeling verbally abused and emotional abuse from your classmates is just one of the worst feelings that anybody could ever go through. People would make really stupid jokes, sometimes inappropriate jokes, a lot of times inappropriate jokes, a lot of gossips, a lot of just saying really negative things, judgments, criticism, and all of that contributed to my fear of being seen. I started hiding myself. I started hiding who I was, and I started hiding everything that was good about me because I thought that if I shine too brightly, they're gonna hate it. They're gonna criticize me. They're gonna tell me to stop. They're gonna tell me who do I think I am. So for the longest time, the biggest limiting belief that I had to work through in myself was who do I think I am? Like every time that I would do something in the past when I had launched a podcast episode or I had done something that was outside of my comfort zone, the biggest talking limiting belief was who do you think you are? Who does she think she is? And that was such a prominent thing. It's not anymore because I've worked through it. But it was so big. Like I worked through that for years and years and years to just overcome that one nagging voice of like, who do you think you are to do this? So I hid myself for many, many years. I didn't really pursue or actively share the things that I was passionate about. Um, I was really into singing, and I think at one point I wanted to sing and like share that on YouTube. I never did. I think I like shared it as like a private video. I shared it with my cousin and like took it down. But I think the desire to share things online and to be seen, just to share things, was there with me ever since I was a kid. But I never did it until recently this year, I would say within the last few years in my late 20s. So I'm going to take another sip. Hmm. Talking about this definitely makes me feel a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. But I'll be fine. So, yeah, so what else? So that happened all the way up to grade five. And my healing journey with that didn't start until I was, I think, like in my university years, right? I didn't process all of that bullying and all of that trauma until I was 20 something, like 20, maybe 20, 21, something like that. And then unfortunately, I received a lot of bullying and harassment and abuse again in high school, senior year high school. This was like grade 11 and grade 12. I was dating someone at the time, and his group of friends were just like, honestly, the meanest people in the world to me at that time. And I haven't spoken with a lot of them now since high school has passed, so I can't say that they are the same people. They could be very different. I have no idea. Again, I've processed a lot of these things emotionally, so I'm not super triggered when I talk about it anymore. But senior high school years were so difficult for me. So difficult. I remember not even wanting to go to school. I think grade 11 was fine because I was a new kid at the school at that time and I was still kind of like getting adjusted to the school year. But it was like near the end of grade 11 or like maybe, yeah, like somewhere around then. And then all of grade 12, like that was just honestly a terrible time to be alive for me. I had a few friends that I could call like my really close friends at the time at that school that I'm really grateful for, that I still occasionally connect with now. Those friendships, honestly, thankfully, like not saved me, but saved me in a way. Um, but yeah, I mean, like so much of the emotions and the negativity and the depression and the anxiety and all of that came from that year. I received so many different gossips and just different comments that were just so negative and lots of judgments, and I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know how to deal with it. I tolerated a lot of mistreatments. I tolerated a lot of emotional abuse in so many ways. I people pleased my way through high school. I negotiated who I truly was just to feel belong, just to fit in. Um, yeah, and I mean, as kids, like we don't know who we are, right? Like, especially I wasn't taught growing up to be assertive, to have boundaries. So I had zero of that growing up in high school. I people pleased my way through just to survive. And yeah, I mean, looking back, I could see a very scared little girl who was just like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just want to get out of here. I remember there was this one moment I was sitting at my locker in the hallway and I was crying to myself silently. And this was like during class time, so no one was there. And I had a journal that I kept in my locker at the time. And I took out that journal and I wrote on that page. And I remember this exact sentence that I wrote down, and I don't know why. But that sentence I wrote down was, I don't know why I feel so small and insignificant right now. And I look at the way that I wrote that on the piece of paper, and my lettering were so small. And the next sentence that I wrote was, just like my writing. It was so small. Like, I usually don't write that small on my journal, but that specific day, that specific page, that specific moment, I just capture and remember in my life. Like, I felt so insignificant, so small. I think after that day, I told my boyfriend at the time that I wanted to change school. And he was like, no, you shouldn't. You just have a little bit of time left, like you should finish it here. It was only thanks to his convincing that I stayed. If he didn't convince me, I probably would have left. And I don't know what it would have been like if I had left. I really don't know. But that was my high school year. And yeah, I mean, the bullying and all of that was just so. so tough for me moving on as a young adult. I was very happy to leave high school, and thankfully, after high school, I didn't really get bullied again. Like, university was amazing. I had so many groups of friends, and I felt super belonged in different groups in university. So that university was like a beautiful reset. And as I gone on to my early 20s something, I discovered different friends that were outside of my schools and my academic circles. Like, I discovered friends that were more in like the personal development or spiritual circles, and some of those friends became my best friends, like the bestest friendships that I had in my life. And a lot of my friendships wounds started to heal. And around that same time, I also started to talk with a coach. And um, yeah, I had this like favorite coach that I had. She was my first coach. She was my first official coach and pretty much a therapist because she was just so amazing. She, I would say, is like hand down the number one coach and therapist that I've ever spoken to. So if you guys want her information, yeah, email me. But yeah, she helped me heal through so many of my family difficulties at the time and a lot of the bullying and the wounds. I worked with her for 2 years, and yeah, I healed a lot of the stuff that happened in elementary school. But it took me a couple more extra years to heal the stuff that happened in high school. And it wasn't so much about the people that hurt me or wronged me in some way. It was really about changing how I saw myself. Because up until that point, all of my self image was based on this false image of what people have projected on me. So, any of their criticism, their rejection, any kind of emotional abuse, things like that, I took that on and I wore that as like a coat. You know, if I was walking outside, I'm wearing that as my outfit. Outfit of the day. It was not great. So, I had to change a lot of the ways that I saw myself because I realized that it was so distorted. It was a distorted self image based on the negative labels that I had taken on from the experiences that I had from being bullied. And now, where I am now, I'm in my late 20s. And after about a decade of kind of healing this and working through this, and now I feel more confident than ever. Like, I know there's a long path to go, but now the progress and the transformation that I've gotten for myself is I speak to myself so kindly. Like, when I look in the mirror and I look at myself, I do not dare to say a single word that harm myself in any way. And that is my commitment to myself. I speak to myself very compassionately, very kindly. Of course, there are times when patterns of self judgment and harsh and criticism and perfectionism come up, right? Because that's what was a part of my upbringing for a long time. But the difference now is that I have the skill set and the awareness to come to those moments with so much compassion. Like, I'm not going to judge myself. I'm going to be here, be present, and love and speak to myself so kindly. So, oh my God, this was like a long journey of healing and a long journey of coming home to myself, coming home to my authentic self. I was also judged a lot in the past for being fake, and I never understood why that was. Maybe it was because I had a mask and I was people pleasing my way through life, honestly. I have no idea. But yeah, that was like the main comments. It was like, you're so fake, or like, this person's so fake. And I never understood that. I really didn't. And so now when I'm making content, when I'm doing this stuff, like, the thing that really comes to me is to be real, to be as raw and authentic and as real as myself as possible. Because the ways that people judged me before, where I was being fake, number one, I don't resonate with that. And number two, I don't want that to be the way that I perceive myself. And so it starts with me creating an intention for myself that everything I do it because this is my real self. And so even if other people say, "Oh, you're so fake," that is not gonna stick on. That's not a label that I'm gonna wear because I know my intention is raw and real as me. So, oh my god, I have no idea how many minutes this video has been. I feel like I need another sip of milk tea. Oh, the Asian in me. But yeah, that is my story, guys. Mm-mm-mm-mm. I judge myself a lot from all of those experiences. I had very negative self image, even though I had no idea, because I always thought of myself as a confident person too. Like, I was very confident and extroverted. I could easily talk to anybody, I could speak confidently on stage. Like, I had all of that in me. So I always thought I was a confident person. But what I didn't know is that I actually had a very distorted self image because of the bullying. And I didn't know that until I started to dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, 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 deeper. I'm like, ooh, yeah, like that's not me. So now I am working on rewiring and changing the way I see myself, the way I speak to myself, the way I look at myself, the way I perceive myself, the way I feel myself, the way I am in relationship with myself. Being a teenager is hard. I There was one part where I ended up volunteering for the Red Cross to help kids who were struggling with bullying and to kind of share the impact of bullying and preventing bullying. And that was honestly very healing for me. It was like a way of giving back. I think I did that in like grade 12 or something like that. I think it was grade 12. Yeah, it was like grade 12. And then I went back to elementary school. So it was very, very impactful. But yeah, if you're watching this video and you resonate with some of the things that I've said, or if you've had experience of being bullied, I'd love to know your experience and whether you've been able to overcome that or not, or if you're still working through those traumas, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I would love to see you again in my channel. Say hi, comment, say something, subscribe, stay in touch. I love you.